Morning, morning, everybody. Michelle is here. January the 20th, 2026. For some reason, I'm being encouraged to put out, a few series of videos because I'm sensing something, and you know me, um, I pay attention to myself. I protect my peace. I protect my consciousness more than anything. And I trust myself. I trust myself. So I'm just kind of, putting two and two together, attempting to figure out, what's really going on. Because what we are being told on these screens, on these cell phones, are not the truth. It's not the truth at all. This is the most advanced manipulation and deception that we've ever experienced during our lifetimes. Back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, when they were doing this mind control thing, and with the fake shuttle landing to the moon in, I think it was in 1969. All of those people, and let me just say this: all of those people involved in that project have either died, they were unalived, most of them, and some of them just died naturally, because again, this was back in the 60s. A lot of people that were working on this project back then were middle-aged or more. I don't think there were many young people per se, but like I said, at the same time, they were manipulated, they were deceived, they were hypnotized, they were drugged and all that to fake this moon landing, to give the illusion that a particular country was the first to get there, and blah blah blah. It was very creative, and they used a creative entrepreneur who built the most creative, fantasy-driven theme park in the world. People from all walks of life go to this theme park, and you get immersed in fantasy, imagination, delusion, and hallucination too. But as I said, that first moon landing was manipulation and fraud and deception, because it was easily programmed to us from our televisions. Remember those black and white television sets we had? And where we, in our house, thankfully, there was only one television, and it was in my parents' room. And we rarely had the opportunity to go in our parents' room. And then eventually it went to, but it was not in our bedrooms. We had no televisions in our bedroom growing up. But of course, once we all became grown, our parents, we introduced televisions into the bedrooms. But again, you just don't know what's going on and what's real and what's being told, and now we got artificial intelligence. So it's enough to make your head explode, literally, as well as figuratively and metaphorically. Because with that fake moon landing in 69, they eventually ended up there. They eventually ended up on the moon. So why could and so the reason for the deception is unclear to me. I don't understand why there was a deception, and it was unclear because I don't think any other countries were ready to take that flight to the moon. But thus they I told you there's two militaries, which is true, and two NASAs. Okay, the dark NASA, blah, 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 and the light NASA, blah, 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 doing their things. The light NASA, of course, make everything entertaining. That's why we have these pseudoscientists coming on, entertaining us about what we see in the sky, what they know to have seen in the sky, and, what the stars and the moon and the mountains and dark matter, light matter, it's all intertwined. But we've since, and I say we, the USA, Let's be honest. That's, eventually made it to the moon. And they were able to do some manipulation and deceptions while there. Whereas, no one will ever know that a lot of things have been covered up because, and I can remember back in 2022 as well. Something happened in 2022 as well, which will not be acknowledged right now or at all. It all depends on what happens to us, really. And I say that with sincere honesty. There's no telling what's going to happen, per se. And I ask the questions, I'll be honest. And while I'm contemplating and kind of, I'm like, what's going to happen to us? What's going to happen to us? And I ask those questions because, I'm curious. I have universal love for people. I don't want to see anyone, being their lives being cut short because, like I said, we have to evolve. And so you don't want your life to be interrupted during your process of evolution or evolving, at least, or attempting to evolve and, snapping out of it and getting a grip and recognizing, that you're in a spin, that you keep repeating the same lives. And what I mean by that is, say, for example, I pass away, you bury this body, this face and body you see. The energy which keeps us alive, the life energy, escapes. It's energy, you can't see it, but it's there, escapes, and eventually it'll realive itself into another personality that will not have anything necessarily to do with me per se. They won't look like me, they won't act like me per se. But what they'll have is what was stored in my storage bank, in my innermost, in my whatever I store via my essential knowledge, whatever I stored, universal love, peace, and harmony, those neutral positive aspects. Well, that is what gets stored. So if you don't store any of that, say for example, you don't store universal love, you in your next personality, whoever that turns out to be, will have to. Those are the elements that evolve you. But instead, we are on repeat. We're on the repeat cycle. Well, they say rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Literally, that's what's happening. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And so that's why a lot of people sometimes feel that deja vu feeling. Like, wait, have I been here before? Aspects of you have. We are part of this planet. Our energy is here. Okay, our energy cannot go anywhere else because we are not evolved enough, number one. And number two, we pose a danger to any other planets that we happen to, get to, but which we will not for a long time, if ever, because we're just stuck in our solar system and we think that's space. But if you're looking into a telescope and you're looking out and you see the Sirius star, you see how massive that star is, or you look out and you see, whatever you see, Betelgeuse. I know a lot of people talk about that Atlas. People are just talking about a whole lot of things that is being viewed per se through these so-called telescopes. And why would we think that we're the only ones? That is the most delusional, wasteful use of our consciousness than anything. So I say all of that to say this. It's up to you. If you like repeating the same kind of lives where it's about materialism. It's about worshiping, worshiping a God, a Lord, a Jesus. Getting on your knees, praying and asking and begging, because that's what praying is begging. And usually it's in the form of materialism. I doubt very seriously when people are praying that they're asking for universal love and peace. I doubt it, but they won't tell you that because we're as well as the most deceptive and manipulative. We are the best performers and liars ever. We know how to perform. We know how to lie with ease. That's the most dangerous part of it. I don't want to keep these videos so long. However, but I do get up every morning, and ground myself. And then I do ask, I've been asking this, a lot lately is what's going to happen to us? Because the writing is on the wall. If we got these social media, these devices, the electronic devices that are giving you a picture of what's happening all over the world. There's a fire here, there's flooding there, the amount of snowfall. So we have our evidence. Okay, it's going to be revealed in the distant future that we disregarded warnings, we disregarded prophecies, we just disregarded it. We figure, hey, I'm going to go my own way. So, and going your own way is just going to have you suspended. The planet itself just spinning and spinning and spinning. And eventually, everything material eventually destroys or disintegrate or whatever the term you want to use. It doesn't last forever. And we've been given millions of years of opportunities to snap out of it and get a grip. And I told you, it's just so much of a allotted time that you have, and you have no time, no more time. It's up. Your time is up. Now you can live out these, you can live out the remaining of your life, traveling all over the world if that's what you want to do. I mean, do what you've always dreamed that you wanted to do. Do it now. Get it over with. And that way, when you do lay me down to sleep, about to pass away, hopefully you'll focus on that, living out your dreams and living out, the things that you've worked so hard for. The materialism is just going to be a wasteful burden on your descendants, your children, and society in general. So, because what are we going to do with all these vehicles at some point? What are we going to do with all these houses at some point? So, get yourself brutally honest about your situation and do the best you can to make sure as you're dealing with reality. Okay, there's no matrix. You should have snapped out of that, decades ago, and realized it was just a movie. Okay, just do the best you can. Snap out of it. Be realistic. Consider how old you are. Pay attention to how your elders, around the ages of when your elders passed away, because sometimes that's a correlation of when you will. See if you can get an average age. But I would just plan accordingly. Make sure your paperwork is in order. Just do what you can. Be safe about it. Make sure your houses are safe. Make sure, just make sure you are safe and you don't have accidents unnecessarily, harming and injuring yourself. Take care of your health as best you can. Don't be extreme about anything. Just know how to. We know what to do. That's the whole point of everything. This particular video. We know what to do. So I'm gonna stop it right there, and trust me, I will be back.